Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Thank you for all for coming. Lilu Nishmat for the sponsor.
Maria Ben Dina.
Maria Bat Dina.
Berta Bracha Bat Dina.
Berta Bracha Bat Dina.
Namo Bat Chavsi.
Namo Bat Chavsi.
Why is there no one
Okay, so the pasuk says in this week's parsha, we know this parsha is about Yakov Avinu. He came down to Mitzrayim, and he's giving out the theme of the parsha is him giving out brachot. He gives brachot to each of his kids, and especially we start off with two brachot, with brachot to Menashe and Efraim. His two grandchildren, the only grandchildren that got brachot. So Yosef comes in the room, and he brings his kids, and he says, Re'o panecha lo pilati v'hinei hera. Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef, he says, once upon a time, I didn't even think if I was going to see you. And now Hashem showed me your grandchildren. My grandchildren, your children. So all the Mefarshim ask, they say, Ma kesher yesh letchilat mikra im sofo. What is the fact that Yosef wasn't going to see, that Yaakov wasn't going to see Yosef? What does it have to do with him seeing Menashe and Efraim right now? And even if you want to say, he wasn't going to see Yosef, now he see Menashe and Ephraim, this is not the first time you saw Menashe and Ephraim. If you look at the years, you count them up, they were inside Mitzrayim for 17 years. Yaakov was already there for 17 years. And all of a sudden he said, wow, Yosef, I get to see my grandchildren, your kids, finally. What do you mean? You were here 17 years, you were teaching them Torah, you were learning with them. It doesn't make sense. Right when he's about to die, he says this phrase. So, Mama komi yesh lamirazo. Another question is, what's this pasuk teaching you? If you look a few psukim right before, it says Yakov wasn't able to see. At the end of the life of Yitzchak also, they lost their vision. They weren't able to actually physically see people. They were blind. So now it's saying, Yosef, I'm able to see you and your kids. How is he even looking at Yosef and his kids? Wasn't he blind? So Zera Shimshon starts off, he says, the sight that Yaakov Avinu had wasn't a regular, natural type of seeing. It was called a riyah sichlit. It was a perception of the mind. Through chokhmat partzuf, which means face reading, literally, he was able to look at a person's face, and he was able to look directly in the person, and he was able to see everything about them. He was able to see who their kids are going to be, what the guy is thinking, what happened in his life. He was able to see it through just looking at your face.
Even though you couldn't see.
Even though he couldn't even see, he was blind. And that's what the Zohar says. The Zohar says that Yaakov looked at Menashe and Ephraim, and he said, who'd you bring in front of me? It's on a different pasuk. He said, who'd you bring in front of me? He said, Menashe and Ephraim, they're both going to have Rishayim come out of them. The two Rishayim that came out of them? That we list?
Out of Menashe and Efraim? Yeah, there was two Rishayim.
Two kings.
The king, right? Yeah.
Exactly. One king's name was Yeravam ben Navat. He made the whole entire Klal Yisrael do Avodah Zara. Imagine that. You get your king, and you make the whole entire Jewish nation serve idols.
Wow.
Horrible person. It says in the Mishnah, I'm pretty sure that this person doesn't even get Olam Haba. Yeravam, Machloket, maybe he did Teshuvah, but a very bad Rasha. They say mixed weddings are bad. Why is the mixed wedding bad?
Why is it bad?
Because you're making everyone around you sin. You're making the whole, everyone in the room sin. Anyone who's there is sinning. This king made the whole entire Jewish nation do the worst sin, one of the worst sins in the Torah, Avodah Zara. So he said, you brought in front of me Menashe and Ephraim. How do you know that his descendants would be these kings? Another one was Yeshu, I think. That's what his name was. So how did he know this? Because he had this chokhmat partzuf. He was able to face read. He was able to see things that normal people couldn't see. So now we can understand, what did Yaakov see? He said, once he was about to bless the kids, Menashe and Ephraim, the Shekhinah left him. He said, why did the Shekhinah just leave? So he thought in his mind, Rashi explains, maybe, there's a defect in these kids. Now, there could be one of two reasons why the kids are defected. Either because of the father, or either because of the mother. Why the mother? He says maybe Yosef Maybe you married the wrong wife. Maybe you didn't marry the right wife. Maybe your wife is not meant for you. And because of that, your kids are not worthy of getting a blessing. Or maybe, you sinned in Mitzrayim. You're acting like you're a tzaddik, you didn't do anything. Maybe you really stooped down to the Mitzrayim's level and you did immorality, you did arayot, and maybe that's why the Shekhinah is leaving and I can't bless the Menashe and Ephraim. So he says it's either a problem in the mother or the problem in the father. He says maybe you were defiled your brit in Mitzrayim. And this Avera of the brit, arayot, immorality, it's an Avera that goes from the father onto the kids. It extends, if a person doesn't put on tefillin, person eats chametz on Pesach, his kids really are not going to have to suffer for that. If they repeat the sin, some say because they repeated the sin of the father, then they're going to have to also be suffering for the sin of the father. But this sin of arayot, this sin of immorality, is something that you're even going to have to suffering to your kids. Even your kids are going to suffer from this. So he said, why are your kids suffering? Why are they not kadosh? Why is the Shekhinah leaving me and not wanting to bless them? Because maybe you did something wrong. And we see this in the Pasuk, that the father's sins in regard to this Avera are also going to go on to the kids. It says, Abotenu chatu ve'enam, our fathers have sinned and are no more, and we have to suffer for their sins. That's what the Pasuk says. And we see it's referring to the sin of the Arayot, Begam Brit. And he also brings down, Ki yadu mikavanot ha-shovavim, the Arizal says the same thing in regards to Shovavim. Next week, I think, Sunday, is the beginning of Shovavim.
Where's that?
Shovavim stands for Shmot Va'era, Bo B'Shalach, Hitro Mishpatim. It's the weeks where Shovavim literally means returning. It's where you have the ability to do teshuvah for any sin that has to do with immorality. So over there, the Rizal explains that it's even going to be, you're also going to be punished for even your father's sins. So that's why basically Yakov assumed maybe Yosef did something wrong in Mitzrayim. So how did Yosef respond? Yosef said, Banayhem asher natan li Elohim bazeh. These are my kids that Hashem gave me through this. Now what's this? When you say this, he's trying to point to something, refer to something. So Rashi says on this word bazeh, that he took out his ketubah and his kiddushin, all his documents basically, that showed he was legitimately married to his wife, and there was no funny business. Everything was kedat Moshe v'Yisrael. He did everything good. That's what Rashi says. But the Zera Shimshon takes another approach. He says, you know what he took out?
Wait.
He took out something else. It was gold. We're going to see what it is.
Is that a necklace?
Yeah. The Midrash in Vayishlach, I guess you learned that. It was 3 weeks ago, I think. 3-4 weeks ago. Parashat Vayishlach. The Midrash over there says, we know Shechem kidnapped Dinah. Shechem kidnapped Dinah. He violated her. And from there came a kid. They actually had a kid together. They took this kid and they wanted to kill him, the Shvatim. They said, it's a disgrace. We have this person, this baby that was born, was a daughter. This baby that was born from such an act, we don't want her. We want to kill her. Yaakov Avinu said, don't kill her. He took her. He wrote on a golden plate. He wrote the Shem Hashem.
And put on her neck.
Put her around her neck, exactly. And he sent her out of the house. Immediately after he sent her out of the house, who came? Malach Gabriel. Came in, swept, picked her up, took her straight to Mitzrayim, and to whose house? Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife raised this girl. Why did Michael bring her to this house? Because Michael knew this wife, this girl, is going to be the future wife of Yosef. She's the most suitable match for Yosef HaTzadik.
Where was she from again?
She was from Dina and
Dina
Shechem.
Shechem.
Yeah.
So hers is...
Isn't she a mamzer then?
What?
Isn't that considered a mamzer?
Yeah, right?
Not really. Mamzer is only if the...
Wedlock, no?
Yeah, but it's not mamzer. It's different.
They weren't married also.
Yes, it's bad, but it's not like a mamzer. So this was the wife, Osnat, right? This is the girl that Yosef married. So when Yaakov said, maybe your wife is not proper. So what did he take out? He said, no. These are the kids I had with this. He showed what? The golden plate that had the name of Hashem on it. He said, this is your handwriting? Yeah, I wrote this. You know who this is from? This is from the girl that you sent away. That girl you sent away is now my wife.
Wow.
He didn't know.
Wait, so you're telling me his granddaughter?
Yes.
is his son's wife.
His granddaughter is his son's wife, exactly.
Ah, weird.
Yes. But
It's a
they
mitzvah.
were. Yeah. So he got married to Osnat, and he said, don't worry, the mother of these kids, Tzedeket. Yeah? She's Osnat, you gave a confirmation, this is your handwriting, Shem Hashem, on a golden plate on a tzitz. Everything is fine. Shapir Kamar Shenatani Elohim Bazeh, Dezeh Moreh Be'etzba, because Dezeh, like we said, when we said, this is the kids I had with this, what's this? He's pointing to something. What's he pointing to? To the golden plate. Omnam al chashasha acher. Now, what was the second suspicion Yaakov had to Yosef? What do we say? What was the second suspicion? Begam brit. Maybe Yosef defiled his brit in Mitzrayim, and maybe he did arayot. Maybe he failed his test. No one knew. How's anyone going to figure out? No one's going to know. You don't know. So Shema Yosef Timer Britovi Mitzrayim. Shaya Kulam Shetufim Zima. The whole entire Egypt was the lowest place on earth. The lowest place. They were steeped into all the immorality, into all the zunut, everything. So you couldn't really give a sign. You can't give a proof that, I didn't do anything wrong. So with this, Yaakov had to use his, Ruach HaKodesh. He looked inside Yosef's face, and he was able to read through Chokhmat Partsuf, through face reading. He was able to tell, does he still have his Kedusha? Is the Shem Hashem messed up over there, or no? So he was able to look at him, and he saw he didn't sin. And that's what it means. What?
That's where Tzafna Paneach comes in? Or?
Safna Paneach doesn't come from there. Safna Paneach comes, I think, from hidden. It means concealed.
Right.
Something with concealing. You're saying, he's... Maybe because he was concealed his identity at that time. No one knew he was Yosef. So I think that's why he was called Safna Paneach. But now we're giving Pshat in the Pasuk. We're saying, that's what the Pasuk meant. I one day didn't think I would see you. Yaakov was saying one day, once upon a time, I didn't think you actually, stayed at Tzaddik in Mitzrayim. I thought, you're in the most evil place, most steep place. I actually had assumptions. Maybe you didn't do the right things. But now I see not only you are Tzaddik, but even your kids are Nekiim Utearim. Even your kids are perfect, pure, and righteous. And then he was able to give the bracha. Now, what was the bracha? Well, the bracha, yeah. So he gave the bracha to Menashe and Efraim. Who did he give the importance to?
Ephraim.
To Ephraim. Who was older? Menashe. Yosef puts Menashe on the right side of Yaakov, and he puts Ephraim on the left side of Yaakov. We know Yaakov switches his hands. Now, why did Ephraim get precedence over Menashe? What does the pasuk say? Yaakov responds right away. What does the pasuk say? Pasuk says, because his kids will fill up the land. It says, Zaro yemelo goyim. His kids will fill the nations. Now Ephraim's. Now what does this mean? So the Mefarshim explain that from Ephraim will come a certain child. Who's the child? Yehoshua ben Nun. Yehoshua ben Nun will come from Ephraim, and Yehoshua did a great miracle. Among the many things he did, he split the Yarden. But one thing, he was in battle. He was conquering Eretz Yisrael for 14 years. For 14 years, he was conquering Eretz Israel. And at one of the battles, he stopped the sun. He said, sun, stop here. For a couple hours, the sun was stopped. And when the sun stops in Israel, it doesn't stop just in Israel. The whole world stopped spinning. If let's say it was spinning, the whole world stopped spinning. So every nation was speaking about it. Yo, you saw the sun? That's what they told time. You saw the sun and stop moving. Everyone's talking about it. And they're saying, what's going on, huh? And they're like, it was Yehoshua ben Nun. He's conquering Israel and he made the sun stop. His name became great amongst the nations. And because of that, Ephraim deserved to get the important part of the bracha, the right hand of Yaakov. What?
Yeshua was from Shevet Ephraim.
Shevet Ephraim, exactly. Now, what's the obvious question? Because you have a good kid, because your kid is going to make a miracle and he's going to be famous. Just because you're famous doesn't mean that all of a sudden Menashe has to lose his firstborn right. He has to lose his Bechorah. Firstborn? It's a big thing. He's losing his Bechor just because Ephraim has a better kid. Do we see this anywhere in the Torah? Let's say you have two kids. One's Rasha, the other one's Tzaddik. The Rasha is firstborn, Tzaddik is second. Who gets double portion?
Parashat.
Why?
Because that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. The way it is you go by the firstborn.
Esav and Yaakov.
He sold it.
It's all right.
He sold the rights.
But I'm saying that's
Yeah. Even
I don't
Esav.
know,
It's a good example. Yeah. Esav and Yakov. Esav was still going to get the firstborn. If let's say you have a kid from a forbidden marriage, you have a mamzer is your first child, and then the second
What about
child
Ishmael?
is clean
Who
from
gets
two
it?
different wives. Who gets it? The mamzer.
no.
The mamzer gets it. Why? Because it goes by firstborn.
Firstborn of the mother, father.
Father.
So Ishmael.
Ishmael was technically the firstborn, yeah. So we're saying even the mamzer is gonna get it. So now you want to tell me just because Ephraim had a better kid, he had a kid Yoshua who made a miracle so great that he stopped the sun, he's gonna deserve to become the firstborn all of a sudden. Ephraim's gonna deserve to be the firstborn. We see even a mamzer rasha is still gonna get double portion. So what's pshat? And even more, we're gonna ask. V'av shevet Levi she'atzah mimenu Moshe shekara et hayam. Which one of the shvatim were firstborn?
Reuven.
Reuven. Who's the greatest shevet? Who had the greatest descendants?
Yehuda.
Well, Yehuda had kings.
Levi.
Greater than that was Levi. Levi had Moshe Rabbeinu come out of him. You know what Moshe Rabbeinu was? Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Torah from Har Sinai. He split the Yam Suf, Asara Makot. Everyone knows Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the most famous, one of the most famous people in the world. Did he get the firstborn just because he had Moshe Rabbeinu as his kid? No. And not only Moshe Rabbeinu, all the Kohanim, Leviim who served in the Beit HaMikdash, everyone comes, Aaron, Miriam, everyone, all the great tzaddikim that we're talking about are coming from Levi. And yet, Levi is not firstborn. So just because you have a good kid doesn't mean you're all of a sudden going to be firstborn. So what's going on, Menashe and Ephraim? Why should Menashe lose his firstborn rights? Just because Ephraim will have a great descendant. So Yesh Lomar, שאף על פי שכתב הכתוב ראה פניך לא פיללתי כי נזכר לאל זה ניחא לגבי ישראל. Yaakov had a suspicion that Yosef might have sinned. So if Yaakov had a suspicion, every other person in the world also did. Yosef went down as a slave to Mitzrayim. He was in the house of Potiphar. He was probably going to sin. Everyone thinks he sinned. Even Yaakov, his own father, thought he sinned. How was Yaakov able to figure out he didn't sin? Through the Ruach HaKodesh thing. Does every other of one of the Goyim believe that? No. Jews, we understand, we believe Chachamim, the Torah says Yaakov looked into him, he saw he was Kadosh, everything is fine. But the Goyim are like, him? No way. He for sure sinned. There's no way. And they bring a pasuk in Mishnah even. Im yahalech ish al gechalim, it says, could a man walk on coals and not get his feet scorched? What's that basically saying? You can't put yourself into a situation over here. The mashal is coals. You can't say I'm going to walk on coals and I'm not going to burn my feet. It's not the way it works. If you go into a place that they're doing stuff that are bad, you can't say I'm going to, let's say a good example. I'm going to sit in a mixed wedding, but I'm going to be turned around. I'm going to be backwards. You know those people? Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit backwards. I'm going to go to Bahamar, but I'm going to take off my glasses, or I'm not going to go to the... These type of excuses. I'm going to go to Las Vegas, but I'm not going to go to the casino. What is that? Of course you're going to go to the casino. You're in Las Vegas. So the Goyim are going to say, Yosef was worse than Las Vegas. He was in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was the lows of the lows. Yeah, that was the place with the most arayot. They say he for sure sinned. You can't walk on coals and not be scorched. So they said, if Yosef is tameh, because that's what they believed, so too his kids are tameh. They said Menashe and Ephraim also, they don't have holiness. They're not deserving to be part of Bnei Israel. They're not deserving to be part of the sons of Yakov. But what happened? One day, there was a whole thing going around, a story. Yehoshua, descendant of Ephraim, son of Yosef, split the Yarden. Also, he stopped the sun. Yehoshua stopped the sun. He did a Nes Gadol. He did a super great miracle. So they said if Yehoshua, Hashem gave him the ability to stop the sun, must be that Yosef HaTzadik never sinned. And he is Yosef HaTzadik. And he never sinned. Because if his descendant was able to do such a great bracha, such a great Nes, they're deserving of the bracha. So who caused Efraim and Menashe to be looked at as worthy for the bracha?
What's up?
No.
Oh, Yehoshua
Ben Nun. Only through Yehoshua Ben Nun were Menashe and Ephraim quote unquote, able to be worthy for the bracha, to show to everyone we are kadosh.
Still doesn't answer the question.
So because of that, if without Yehoshua, would they be worthy, quote unquote?
No.
They were worthy, but were they technically worthy? No. Yehoshua brought out the bracha. So if Yehoshua brought out the bracha, so Yehoshua could say, well, Ephraim could say, my descendant is Yehoshua. Yehoshua is the reason we have the bracha. So who should get the better part of the bracha? Me. Even though I'm not the Bechor, I'm going to get the Bechor rights. Because we would never get bracha if not for Yehoshua. Yehoshua is my kid. Make sense?
Menashe agreed on it.
Well, they didn't really speak this out, but they understood it.
Yeah, but he agreed on it.
Yeah, he agreed on
mentally.
it. Yeah. And it's also another thing. Imagine you have a younger brother.
To save his name.
Not only that. Imagine you have a younger brother.
And you give it to Yosef.
You have a younger brother. He's a mini younger than you. And your father is blessing you. All of a sudden he says, no. The second one, your younger brother is better than you. He's going to have better kids. He's going to be much better than you. How would you feel?
Not good.
Not good. But what did Menashe do? Stay quiet. Stay quiet. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't say, Esav blew up. Esav blew up. He wasn't even deserving to get the bracha. It was given to Yakov fairly. He was Rasha. He sold it. Menashe was deserving. He was tzaddik. He was everything. And yet Yakov is still giving it to Ephraim.
How does Yakov blessing Ephraim change what still was going to happen? Yeshua is still going to be proving them that Yosef didn't sin.
100%.
So what did
But
he do with the bracha?
since Ephraim could say, I brought the proof.
So what?
So therefore I deserve. We wouldn't have got the bracha if not for my kid. So therefore I deserve
You
to
would
get
have
the.
still gave him bracha.
No. You're saying in technicality he would still give the bracha, but the worthiness would not be there throughout the whole entire nations. They would still not be worthy according to everybody.
Until Yoshua Binu.
Until Yoshua Binu.
But what does Yaakov's blessing have to do with Yoshua Binu?
What is Yaakov's blessing?
He didn't create
because
it on him.
according to all the other people, even I think the Shvatim maybe. Well, we have the Torah, so we understand. They asked Yaakov. But all the other nations, they weren't able to realize that they were worthy. Make sense? So back to what I was trying to say. Menashe didn't care. Menashe stood quiet. Then that's why we say to our kids every single week, Yesimcha Elokim ke Efraim Menashe. Why Efraim Menashe? There's many brothers. Say, the Shvatim. Why Menashe Ephraim? Because Menashe Ephraim had achdut. Even if one is getting better, and he deserves the good stuff, he's still gonna give in. He's gonna let his brother have it. They had achdut, they had unity and shalom between each other.
When we still say afterward.
Ephraim goes first.
But Menashe's firstborn.
Menashe's firstborn. So we see Menashe gave in. That's why we're blessing our kids every single week to be like Efraim Menashe. Don't get upset. Always have achva. Even if your brother is getting something better than you and you actually deserve that better thing, you're supposed to give in. Give in. You're always supposed to give in. That's why we bless our kids like them. Now we said Rashi. Rashi explained that what was Yosef showing Yaakov? He was showing them a ketubah. He was saying, I'm married legit. Ketubah. Why did he do this? Because Yaakov suspected that maybe Yosef had improper relations. There's one thing to get married properly. Another thing is to be with your wife properly. So they bring down from the pasuk of Hamorim HaPoshim, Shulchan Aruch brings down there's 9 different ways that a person could be with his wife improperly. And if you're with her improperly, you're going to have very bad, not such good kids. So some examples is that he brings down is, let's say, Ben Sinua. You had relations with her while you hated her. Or you had relations when you were drunk. Or while you were thinking about someone else. So all of these things, Yaakov said, maybe Yosef, you got married to your wife, but maybe you were thinking about other people. Maybe you were drunk when you were with her and you had these kids. So he said, maybe the kids are not worthy because you had improper relations. So Rashi says, no. He took out the ketubah, he took out the marriage document, and he said, look, this marriage document is not even deraita. Do you have to write a ketubah? No. Who tells you have to write the ketubah? The Rabbanim, the rabbis say you have to write a ketubah. So he said, if I'm going to follow the rabbi's laws about writing down a document that I got married and legitimate stuff, then of course I didn't do the severe sins or was with her improperly. If I even did the little, papers, the paperwork, I 100% kept everything. That's Pshat and Rashi. Now we go into the bracha. What was the bracha he gave? He said, Vayidegu lerov. This bracha we bring down, the Chachamim explain, what was the bracha? You should multiply like fish. Why fish? What's the famous Pshat?
Because they have a bunch of kids.
Bunch of kids. How are they able to have so much kids? How are they able to have so much bracha?
They're hidden from the eye.
They're hidden from the eye. Fish are undersea, covered by water. So he said, just like the fish are covered by water, because they're hidden from the eye, and they have so much bracha, so too you guys. You guys should never have ayin hara. That's why they say Yosef at Tzaddik, his kids are now ruled over ayin hara. If you come from the Shevet of Yosef, you have no ayin hara. Ben Prat Yosef, Ben Prat Ali ayin. The problem is, when you compare yourself to something, in order to get that something, you have to be exactly like it. Let's explain. If you want to be compared to a fish, that the fish has no ayin hara, so too you don't, you have to be like the fish. You have to also be hidden underwater. You have to also be hidden from view. But you know who the sons of Yosef were? Princes of Egypt. They were, everyone's looking at them, everyone's giving them ayin hara. What do you mean they're not going to have ayin hara? They're showed in front of everybody. So that's question number one. In order to not get the ayin hara, you have to also be covered like a fish. And question number two is, why did Menashe and Efraim, why were they the only grandchildren that got a bracha? Ever wonder that? What happened to Reuven's kids? Yehuda's kids? Levi's kids? Why Menashe and Efraim? So we're going to have one answer to answer these both things. So we say really Yosef, like we just explained, he was suspected of doing zinut. He was suspected of being immoral, of doing bad stuff. So because his tzidkut, his righteousness, was hidden from view, everyone thought Yosef, he's a faker, he's not a tzaddik, he's a rasha really. His tzaddikness was hidden from view. So he said, midah keneged midah. Just like Yosef, your righteousness was hidden from the eyes of everybody, so too your kids, when they're going to make money, when they're going to have bracha in their life, their bracha will come in a way that's hidden. You know what the best type of business? The best type of business is where no one sees your profits. If you're the guy with your business is owning buildings, everyone knows this building's that guy, this building's yours, this building's yours. It flashes into everyone's face. Everyone's like, oh, look at that guy. He owns that building. He owns that building. All day, what's happening to you? Ayin hara. That's why the best type of business is a business where people don't see where your profits are. You're quiet. Because the more you're quiet and on the down low, the more you're going to have bracha. So Hashem blessed.
I don't think it's the business. I think it's what you do with the money from the business.
Oh, that's already up to you. I'm saying sometimes
there's a lot of quiet businesses that you don't know about, but then you see mansions coming up.
100%. You have to know how to hide the money. You're hiding the money.
Hide from the eye.
Because guess what?
True.
If you build a big mansion, then you won't have enough money to build the second one, because there's going to be ayin hara. Ayin hara takes away your bracha. Doesn't hurt anyone else but you. So the ayin hara, he said, they won't have ayin hara. Because all the bracha, all the shefa that's going to come to them, I'm going to bless them, that's going to come to them through ways that are hidden. Just like Yosef HaTzadik, his righteousness was hidden. Yakov specifically blessed the grandchildren, Menashe and Efraim. Because Menashe and Ephraim, he hurt their kavod. He was calling them basically, not a mamzer, but like, you guys are like not so pure. You guys are not so kadosh. So since he hurt their kavod, there's a rule. The Gemara brings down in Brachot. Anytime you say something bad to somebody, you say, oh, you didn't come to Shacharit, you're a loser, you're a shah. But the guy's like, what do you mean? I was driving my kids to work. Or I was dealing with my wife. Shalom bayit.
People that do that, like
So,
rabbis.
I don't know. You have to, if you suspect somebody, and it comes that the person was actually, he had a reason why he did that thing, then you must give him a bracha. So too, Yosef HaTzadik, his kids, they were suspected for being, almost mamzerim. So Yakov had to give them a bracha that they're going to be Yidugul Arov. Without Hashem, we're all going to get this bracha. We're not going to have ayin hara. And we're going to get the bracha of Efraim Menashe. Okay,